Welcome to Fanboy and Critic, the Game of Thrones sub-playlist. This is Season 7, Episode 3, The Queen's Justice.
Yep.
Normally we go see new movies out in theaters and tell you what we think of them, but this week, every week actually, we're going to give you a little Game of Thrones review and prediction action going on. Jay, so there's a lot of big moments in every episode of Game of Thrones, but what was your favorite moment of this episode? What do you think is going to have the most impact on the future?
It was definitely when Jon Snow appeared in front of Daenerys. I didn't think they were going to meet up that fast, but they started off real quick of him finally meeting her. And it kind of went as expected, as I predicted. It seems like he's going to make a deal with her for the Dragonstone.
We all expected to go kind of rough at the beginning and Tyrion to ruffle the feather or to smooth the feathers on both of them. But it's weird because neither Jon Snow nor Daenerys has ever accepted somebody else and try to talk with them, both being complete jerks to each other right off the bat. So that seemed really false to their characters, that they're not at least trying to feel each other out a little bit. They're both just I'm king of the north, I'm queen of the seven kingdoms, and they're like, my dick's this big, my dick's this big.
It is kind of different. They were just at each other's neck the whole time.
Really, they had no reason to be shitty with each other from the beginning. I would say for me, the best moment of this episode was the last couple scenes. The last scene with Olenna and Jaime was amazing. Jaime's had this weird cognitive dissonance where he's I'm in love with Cersei. Whatever she does, I just have to get behind. She's gonna make the world a better place. She's gonna do some shitty stuff to begin with. And it's Jaime, you really are not paying attention. And Olenna, just that talking scene was enough to call into question everything Jaime's doing. And I think from now on, he's going to look at things differently. And I think that's a catalyst to him killing Cersei.
Yeah, what you predicted, I could definitely see it happen. Every episode, there's a hint at it.
So let's talk about the big moments. So the first half an hour was a big dig measuring contest between Dany and Jon. And Jon shows up and immediately they're like, give us your weapons, we're going to take your boat, and we're going to show you all these dragons that we have. Do you think that was intentional? Do you think she was trying to show him her power?
Definitely, yeah. 100%.
They were definitely trying to show him what's up. And even Missandei gave him this little look yeah. You could tell Missandei was they knew this was going to happen. Daenerys expected a Lord of Westeros that was going to be all anti her, right off the bat, just be no, just be stubborn and thoughtless and just be totally about the patriarchy. And I think she wanted to swing her dick a little bit and show him who's boss right off the front, but she didn't really know that she was going to be dealing with Jon. She didn't know the type of person Jon was, so she sort of let off with the wrong foot.
I don't think it really fazed Jon, though. I think he knows what an asset she could be now for fighting the war that he's worried about, which is the White Walkers. I
think he always knew the asset she would be. That's why he actually went himself.
Yeah.
It did 100% faze them. You saw the look that they had,
Yeah, they were pretty scared shitless.
Yeah, they were scared, and they should be. Those 3 dragons are crazy. But I think it got the whole negotiation off to a wrong foot, because Jon and Davos both realized, she's trying to intimidate us. We might, be prisoners here, kind of, in a way.
So they came in with a guard up.
Yeah, so they came in kind of, bristled a little bit. And, Jon and Dany both had this whole, machismo thing that they were doing during the negotiations that they really usually don't have. They usually go in and they're just, trying to feel the other person out and be like, well, I see your point. And then, if they disagree, they're going to be shits later. But they started off being jerks to each other. And I honestly think it had more to do with the writing and the directing of it. They're we want that reversal so that later when they become allies is not so much of a given.
When I think as characters, they're just so rushed into the situation.
Yeah.
One wants to go rush into war, and the other one's trying to defend the wall. They need the resources that fast.
The next thing that happened was
when Jorem showed up with the prisoners.
Yes. So the next big thing that happened, Euron showed up to King's Landing with his big prisoners.
I said Jorem.
Yeah, Euron. Euron showed up with the prisoners, and Cersei killed one of the sand snakes. I mean, the last sand snake, which we all hate the sand snakes. They're annoying and terrible.
But it was one of the hottest sand snakes.
It was the hottest sand snake by far. But I think it was just such an amazing scene to see, like, okay, you kind of a little bit want to root for Cersei because she brings up all the stuff that Elara did. Elara killed her daughter, like, for no reason. And she's kind of just getting revenge at this point, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It was revenge.
Yeah, I mean, Cersei's a bad guy, but, like, avenging her daughter's death is like kind of a good thing.
I loved how she did it too. Same poison. Yeah. It was with a kiss. And
then the very next scene, she and Jaime get back together. And then I think the weirdest thing of any sex... Well, no, there's been some really weird sex scenes. The weirdest thing about this sex scene was that she wanted, like, random people to know she just had sex with her brother.
So the next major scene...
So the next big part was actually Tyrion and Jon together on, like, a cliff. And then randomly, just like right after that, Tyrion and Daenerys. And then randomly just after that was Jon and Daenerys. So it was basically just like all the people in the first scene that couldn't quite get it together. Tyrion was like, all right, I'm going to have to, like, fix this. And so he goes to Jon. He's like, hey, Jon, you're brooding a lot. Which is like, hey, everybody that's watching the show, Jon, you're brooding a lot. And Tyrion kind of just tells him, like, you're asking a lot for someone you just met. Which is not false.
Yeah.
But us as an audience have that kind of, like, distance of, like, we've seen the Night's King. We know that he's a big threat. But Daenerys, like, people don't believe her dragons. She hasn't seen the Night's King. She doesn't believe the Night's King. Like, she doesn't believe in this army of the dead. So yeah, that is a big ask of him. And Tyrion says, is there something else that you can ask for? And I guess Jon makes a smarter play of just being like, okay, there's something that...
Dragonstone.
Dragon glass, yeah.
Glass.
Dragon glass.
I've been saying stone this whole time.
That's where they live. It's Dragonstone, and Dragon glass is the obsidian that they're going to use to kill the White Walkers. And so he makes a smart play and tries to get the dragon glass from her. And Tyrion actually gives that message to her, and she doesn't actually even want it at first. She's like, he's supposed to be my subject, and you want me to just, like...
Give him shit.
Give him stuff. And Tyrion's like the smart guy. He's like making all the right points. He's like, Jon wants something, and it's not unreasonable, and it doesn't hurt you, and it benefits you in the long run by having another ally. Also, they just got a scroll that was like, hey, half your shit's gone. Half your people are gone now. And so they need more allies.
Yep. And that's how the deal's gonna happen. Dragon glass for Jon Snow's army.
I don't even think she's gonna get Jon Snow's army. She didn't even ask for it. It's an interesting play because she went from, like, give me everything for nothing to be like, hey, I'll give you this stuff and a little bit more than you asked for nothing.
For nothing.
Like, she didn't ask him to bend him.
It was a total 180.
Yeah, she didn't ask him to bend the knee in the second part of that. And I think she realized that, like, he was right. She needed him as much as he needed her.
But I think next episode, it's going to come back all around and she's going to want something. Mostly
concerning this very last scene that we get into. Let's talk about that real quick. So Tyrion goes on about, and this is something we haven't seen. This is more like an Edgar Wright, like, hypothetical, like, this is the plan, and they actually filmed and recorded, like, what a hypothetical plan was, and they're like, back up, that's stupid, and he, like, goes through what the actual plan was. What do you think about that reversal? Like, we all thought they were just going to take Casterly Rock and, like, have one of the Lannisters, like, big strongholds, and it was going to be 1-for-1. Like, Cersei won one battle, and then the Targaryen or Dany won the second battle. What do you think? What do you think it means for the future of this? That really they didn't want Casterly Rock, and the Lannisters took Highgarden. So like the Lannisters are really 2 for 2, and the Targaryens won a hollow victory by getting Casterly Rock.
Yeah, they know that Casterly Rock just as good as them. So if they wanted to take it back, they could.
The thing is, like, they trapped him there with Euron's fleet, destroyed the other fleet, so they can't even leave Casterly Rock. Now they're holding Casterly Rock with a very small number of men. Not only, and they said they emptied Casterly Rock of anything of value, so like they're not going to have food, they're not going to be able to stay there for long, so they're literally going to have to walk it on land through the Reach, where now the Lannisters own the Reach with Tarley behind them.
Wow.
And Jaime owning Highgarden. Like, the Unsullied are screwed, and I do think, well, we'll get into predictions in a minute. So, I can't give you that part until a minute. The Lannisters have all of the South. The entire South, the entire West. They have the Riverlands. They only don't have the Eyrie and the North right now. Like, literally, they're missing 2 kingdoms now. The tide's really turned.
I didn't realize that this episode. You're right.
So I like, the only criticism I really have is that we didn't get to see them. Like, we get 30 seconds of taking Casterly Rock, which was badass. But like, I want to see that battle, and I want to see the Battle of Highgarden, which like they just glossed over. They're just like, we took Highgarden.
Yeah. And like, I like how we were watching it, and you're just like, look, they didn't even show how they took it. They're just showing that he took it already.
Yeah. Which I guess, like, narratively, like, you can't stop for every battle, but at the same time, like, oh, I want to see it. I want to see it so bad.
Well, they came back with that last scene.
Yes, the last scene. The last major part of this episode. Jaime and Olenna. Jay, what did you think about this scene? I know you're like the action guy. You want to see battles, but this is like, for me, this was the most pivotal scene of this entire season so far.
Well, like you were saying, it kind of tips the tide for Jaime. I mean, someone in their right mind finally got him in a room to tell him, like, hey, your sister's crazy. Look at what she's doing. You should definitely think about this. And it looked like it kind of stuck with him. Yeah.
For me, this is the biggest turning point of season 7. Like, we're like, think about it. We're halfway through. We're halfway through. The last FU she can give to the Lannisters is like, Jaime, you know I'm telling the truth because you're going to kill me, and I know you're going to kill me. I'm not trying to escape it. But, like, your sister is crazy, and you know it. Olenna made too much sense, and she had no reason not to make sense. Next episode, what do you think is going to happen?
I think Jon Snow is definitely going to get the deal going with the Dragon Glass.
She already offered it to him.
Yeah, but I think they're going to start mining it. They're going to start showing what he's going to do with it. But she's definitely going to ask for something in return. And I think we're going to see that in the next episode. But I'm just more interested to see what happens with Jaime. Like, is that what's her name?
Olenna?
Yeah. What Olenna said, like, is that really going to stick in his head? Do you think he's going to start questioning his sister? That's what I want to see in the next episode.
I think he's been questioning it a little bit throughout this season. I think what Olenna did, like, finally broke that, like, I don't need to listen to anybody. They're all just enemies of her. And Olenna's like, I'm going to die. Like, there's literally, there's no reason for me to lie about this. Like, your sister's nuts. And I think that finally broke it for him a little bit.
Yeah, I want to see what's going to happen. But what do you think Littlefinger's doing now?
Littlefinger is letting Sansa do her thing. Littlefinger wants Sansa to feel in control before he controls her.
Classic move.
It's like Inception. Like, if somebody knows you're controlling them and offering, like, making your ideas their ideas, then they're not going to go through with it. He's letting her, like, be the queen of the North for a minute until there's something big or something game-changing that he wants. And then he's going to pour that little honey in her ear and be like, this thing is something you need to consider. And he's not going to tell her to do it. He's going to let her make that decision herself. That way she owns the decision and never makes it feel like it was him making her do that. So for my predictions next week, honestly, I think I think Grey Worm's gonna die. He had it too good. He got to make love with the most beautiful woman in
totally forgot that even he was stuck in over there.
Yeah, Littlefinger stuck at Casterly Rock now. They've already admitted that there's no food there. They took all the food out of Casterly Rock so that they're gonna starve out real quick and have to leave. They took out the entire navy that came and brought them to Casterly Rock. So literally they're stuck in a useless castle. I think Grey Worm's going to have to abandon Casterly Rock and he's gonna die in the process. Arya's gonna show up in King's Landing. She's not gonna kill the queen because that's for Jaime.
Wait, I thought she said she was heading north though.
She said she was heading north, and this is something that we kind of missed last episode, where she made this realization that wolf wasn't Nymeria. She's like, that's not you, but it was Nymeria. She was just saying it's not in your character to go back and sit in a castle and be a lady. I think she realized about herself that it's not in her to go be Lady of Winterfell. She would have to give up being an assassin, and she's like, that's not me. I gotta go to King's Landing and kill Cersei. Daenerys, you're right. I think Daenerys and Jon are gonna have another little powwow, and I think they're gonna get a little bit more friendly, more they're not gonna have sex, but they're gonna be more intimate and have a moment of vulnerability with each other.
Okay.
Where Jon's there really is this horde of undead in the north, and Dany's gonna believe him, but she's not gonna change her plans. She's like, I gotta take, I'm here for a certain thing, and while I do believe what's happening with you, I can't derail what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And I think there's gonna be a point where they broach the possibility of a marriage to join the Seven Kingdoms, but I don't think it's gonna happen right away. I think they're gonna broach it. I think they're gonna be in Westeros, it's common for people to marry, and then it's gonna kind of cock tease us and then cut away, and it's not really gonna happen.
All right, fanboys, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below, and check out our Patreon page so we can keep making reviews on Game of Thrones and more movies out in theaters.
Next week, we are gonna watch episode 4, Spoils of War, just like everybody else, and you can check out our review